Testing. Yeah, good.
Welcome. Thank you all for coming out. I think we have a couple empty chairs, so if folks come in, please help them find a seat. Welcome to the Whalen Library. We are excited tonight to have John Landry back with us for our great presenters. He tells me he doesn't need an introduction.
Because I know all these people.
Right. So, welcome, John Landry.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Courtney. And it really is nice to be here back in the library. I think it's my fourth time as a great presenter. As I was saying to my friends that I can't even remember what I talked about, which means that neither did my audience probably. So, but here I am again. It's been 2 years. And normally I talk about tech, because that's the only thing I really know to talk about. And the beauty of it is it keeps changing all the time. And so as a career, which I'll discuss very briefly, it's one of the best jobs you could ever have because every day is new. And I've been able to be in the middle of it since literally the word software was created. When I told my father I was getting into the software business in 1971, he said, "What do you know about women's lingerie?" And I thought at that age I probably knew a little more about it, but nonetheless, it was a word that wasn't used. It was shortly after the government made a decree that IBM had to separate hardware from software. You didn't buy software independently, and the only computers then were IBM mainframes mainly. And so the software came with the machine, and therefore there was no independent software industry because it came for free with the machine. The government finally decided that that was antitrust and said that they've got to be able to unbundle that software from hardware. And for the most part, all the IBM engineers left to form software companies. This is in the early 70s. And as it turned out, I got lucky and met somebody who knew somebody, and I wound up getting in almost by accident. My degree's in accounting and finance. They didn't have any computer science degree for 14 years after I got into the software business. So I fell in love with it, and luckily it's been just a fantastic job for a long time. And it's a hobby, and so I'm lucky enough to have a job that actually paid well. It was a lot of fun, got to travel the world, and it was my hobby. It still is. I still love this stuff, and I've been able to do a lot with it. And I'm going to now talk about something that doesn't quite fit that mold, which is how software was and how it is today is really changed a lot, not just in the technology, but really in how the business models work. And the business model is one of the things we're going to talk about of the companies that have turned out to be the largest software companies in the world and also have essentially created the richest people in the world. The top 6 richest people on the planet are all software guys. I missed that one. Don't know. And largely I missed it because I didn't think that was really a great business model. Boy, was I wrong on that one. So I want you to know that because the stuff I'm going to talk about, then you can judge based upon that knowledge that I really didn't know what I was talking about back then. So not necessarily true, but so let's just get into it. The idea is on your brain on code is that these companies essentially grew out of having a knowledge of neuroscience and psychology that they built into their products. And those products became addictive along with a particular device invented by Steve Jobs. I presume we all know what that is. That allowed that software to run, and as the iPhone and mobile phones essentially became computers instead of just phones, that software became addictive. And we're all pretty much addicted. Who's got their phones with them today? Who doesn't have a phone with them? And just curious, all right, why? Intentionally, you forgot it because you don't want to be addicted? Is that okay? And that's good. And I'm going to try to convince more of you to think that way, not that you throw the thing away, but that you kind of separate yourself from it. As we'll get into this, as it's turning out from a business perspective, the companies that have dominated the addiction market, if you will, are now going to be under great threat from artificial intelligence. And we're going to talk about that. So even though I'm going to give you some pointers at the end about how to kind of distance yourself from what's going on so that you're not addicted, like your brain on code, the fact of the matter is these companies are going to have some issues in the way that they do business, which made them the biggest companies and the richest people in the world. So it should be an interesting journey. So when see, I have mine here, right here, because I want to keep it close, right? It's a new one. You can tell it's a status symbol. It's the orange case. It's not a case. It's the phone. I don't believe in cases. But it's funny because this is a piece of industrial design like the world has never seen. To have this enormous amount of power, enormous amount of memory, enormous amount of storage on a device that fits in your pocket and doesn't burn you is amazing design work. The software that runs on it, particularly the Apple software, is equally amazing as to what you can do and where they're going to take it, which is going to be interesting. It's handsome, it's lightweight, it's quite a piece of art in many ways. The interesting thing about it is that I don't love it. I was thinking about this today. I just don't. I love my cars. I'm a car guy. I actually love my cars. But I don't love this. And I started thinking about why don't I? And the reason is that I don't trust it. And the reason I don't trust it is the software I'm going to talk about runs on it. And I don't trust that. And there's good reason not to trust it. Because what it has become is the largest data collection device about human profiles that you've ever seen. Okay, the stuff that it is collecting on you is unbelievably detailed, which we'll talk about. To this extent where they can predict what your next thing is going to be, what your next move, if you will, what you're going to potentially buy. But the profiling is unreal. So we're going to get into that, and why don't we start now? This is me. By the way, all the graphics on this were all done by ChatGPT. Okay, you just tell what you want to do. I gave it a picture of me and said, giving a caricature, that's what happened. Pretty accurate, I'd say. I think I'm not wearing that same shirt today, but I've been around for a long time. As I said, 71, if you do the math, that's 55 years in the software business. That's a long time. That's every turn in the business. Every hardware change I've got to experience firsthand. I got to work on big iron, big companies, big software companies, IBM, Lotus, the CTO. CTO is Chief Technology Officer. Self-serving as it may sound, CTO at a software company is really a very important job because that sets the direction for the software company. If you're a CTO at Kohl's, it's not quite the same. Okay, you're essentially buying software if you're CTO at Kohl's. So it's a very important job, and it puts you right into, you got to make the decisions about where these companies are going. And luckily, I've apparently done it right because I had 6 times that I've been at the large companies, and then I helped form 6 other companies that typically got bought by the large companies. So it's been quite a run. I loved every bit of it, but it gives me, and why I'm telling you this, is a perspective of what's going on now, okay, because I can compare it to what happened before because I was there. I also was board of directors of a bunch of companies, and I invested in the last 20 years in a lot of companies as well. I also won an award at Mass TLC. All right, here's what we're talking about. We're talking about enormous numbers of devices and people. I mean, this is, I still get struck by this myself. 90% of humans on the planet have smartphones now. 7.3 million smartphones, 8.1 million population. So there's not a lot left. Interesting as this goes, that, for Facebook, for example, which I don't think I have that number here, but it's essentially about 35% of the world wakes up to Facebook, or a Facebook product, Meta. They start running out of people to sell to. There's not enough. The population is getting, the number of devices and everything. I mean, you think of it from an Apple point of view, it's a lot of upgrades, but there's, population is kind of stagnating in a lot of places. And so their market is essentially the market that they already have. There's not new buyers coming in, there's upgrade cycles, but an enormous number of phones. 4.5 hours on average on the phone in an active mode per person, per day, per waking hour. Okay, so waking hours are 16 hours. 28% of your life every day is spent with that device. You are interrupted every 17 minutes. Interruptions are where are they coming from? They're coming from, you may be coming from email, which is a messaging interruption, but they're mostly notifications that you've, in many cases, set yourself and kind of lost track. And so that pinging is going all the time. On average 17 minutes. It takes your brain about 28 minutes on average to recover from that interruption to get back to the thinking you were doing. Well, you get interrupted while you were recovering. So your brain never gets associated with a long-term thought or long-term thinking if you have notifications on, and on average it's getting interrupted every 17 minutes. So these are wonderful tricks, though, aren't they? Because they keep you coming back to the phone. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. People check. Has anybody checked their phone since we've gotten here? How many times? No? I mean, because you get a dopamine rush. We'll talk about that in a minute, too. Every time you check your phone, because it could be something new, and your brain wants to see something new. If there's something new, it might not be, which makes it what's called a variable reward. The brain really likes variable rewards, which you can't predict what you're going to get. We'll cover that in a sec. And the result of that is you welcome checking your phone because you might get lucky and something's there that you like, or you might not. So you've got, what did I miss? Oh, the 275 billion messages that are sent every day. I mean, just try, I'm going to talk about a billion in a minute too, because people don't really know how big a billion is, except Elon, she knows. But that's kind of where we're at right now, which is there's enormous numbers of stuff that's going on. But it's targeting your head, okay? These are some more numbers. You're not only getting bummed out maybe because you're getting so barraged by these messages all the time on your own stuff, then you've got work. And work has a whole other set of messages that are coming in, whether they're Slack messages, etc. On average, 117 emails and 153 team messages per day. Added on to the ones that we just talked about, those are going into your head. It's lucky you can do anything because you're spending all your time answering the stuff that's coming in, or at least looking at it. And it gives you no time to think deeply. And this has been measured. People are getting dumber. Okay? Is that you, Bob? No. All right. So, and there's a risk in this. I mean, for everybody, because everybody's got this problem. I mean, this is a global phenomena that everybody's getting dumber, and they can't think long term. Okay? And this is a problem. So not only is it stress, but as it says here, the brain's gotten better at switching tasks than it has about thinking. Okay, and this is part of the idea of this talk, which is your brain is on code. this is all coming from code. Somebody wrote all this stuff. Every interruption has a cost, endless alerts, etc. I want to make sure I have time for questions, so I'm going to go through some of these slides more quickly. But the fact is that creativity, believe it or not, studies, springs from boredom. That your brain goes into a state that is when you have creative thought, when you're bored. And what has happened is we can't be bored anymore. We're kind of, and they use the example of standing in the line at the registry, is that when, or standing in any line, the heirloom, the cafe down here, look at the line and look at what people are doing. They've got their device in their hand. They're not giving their brain a chance to recover. It's an addiction. You are now addicted to these devices, and it's a brain neurochemical story that's causing that addiction. And there's a part of this presentation that I'm going to go, let's bring out the hemlock for everybody, because this is kind of a sad story. I've got a better ending, but it is a sad story because I don't know if people realize it or not. I don't know if they react to it. I'm going to ask you guys at the end of this as to how you're thinking about this. But the kids are even worse. First of all, they get more messages, okay? But secondly, their brain's prefrontal cortex has not developed to the extent that they have the ability to essentially question whether they should be doing this or not. We kind of get into the mode, yeah, I got work to do. I'm going to have to, drop the phone or turn it off or something. I can't get anything done. The kids don't have that thinking. It doesn't come out until about age 25. So they're really addicted. And if you look at, I've got a picture of us on vacation in the Dominican Republic from a few years ago when the kids were younger, all the grandkids. And every one of us, here we are in the Dominican Republic, every one of them's on the couch looking at their phones. And it's like, no. But this is what happens. So we should be treasuring boredom as the time that we get to have creative thought, because that's what the brain needs. It needs to be bored in order to have those creative thoughts. We have essentially outlawed boredom. Okay, we can't be bored. We have to do something. Productivity. The disease has now got a name. It's nomophobia, which is no mobile phone phobia. If I can't find my no phone, Anne doesn't like my choice of graphics here, but nonetheless, it's just bringing up that how much we are wedded to these devices. And the survey says that 70% people admit that they use the phone while they're in the bathroom. And the other 30% are lying. So, yeah, 60, Dan and I do this. We send a text message. We got the big house with nobody in it, but we send text messages to each other. Gee, the Celtics have started because she's watching TV in another room. So that's messaging. We've talked a lot here now about messaging. But messaging is the gateway drug. The real drugs are the applications. And when we're talking about application software, I'm a software guy. Okay. Just for whatever it's worth, a lot of people get, even the investment analysts, when they're classifying, for example, a Facebook, they call it, depending on who the firm is, different categories. Information service, software. The point is, it's all software. Okay, they shouldn't get so fine-grained. They used to think enterprise software was software, then PC software was something else. Then they said PC software is software, then internet software is software. It's all software. So a social networking system like a Facebook, it is a software company. Okay, it is offering a service called social networking. It is a software as a service company, what's called a SaaS company. So at the core of all this is software. That's what this is all about. So software as a service, meaning that instead of licensing software, I mean, back in the old days, using my father as an example, when we had built a general ledger financial control system for large enterprises, mainframe stuff. Okay, back then there were no terminals at this particular, there weren't even good disk drives. It was tape. You sent a tape in 2 books, the documentation in a box. That was, you're shipping the software. Okay, my dad would ask, how much does that cost? I said, about $100,000. And he says, what else is in the box? A book and 2 reels of tape, of course, it's all the intellectual property. But that was how you delivered software then, and I'm sure you remember PCs, that, you got a floppy disk, then you got a key or CD or whatever. But that was shipping the software. Software as a service is what we do today, meaning you're on the internet, you're executing the software. You don't have to do anything in order to do it except log in. But that software as a service is still software. So there was a schism, if you will. Right around, I'm going to use 2012, it was cumulative, but it was essentially when the iPhones, mobile phones, but particularly the iPhone, came out, combined with the Amazon AWS, their cloud service, combined with a notion of things like social networking that people really didn't think too much about back then in a mainframe context, but you could do it when you had software as a service, because now you could get everybody together and, to exchange pleasantries with your family and friends, the original idea of Facebook. Those things started coming together and creating new kinds of software like Facebook. Okay, that new kind of software was free. In the old software business, you didn't have free software. I just talked about the $100,000 that somebody would pay for our software. But it was free because it was advertising supported. And the reason that I never thought this would work out, the reason I missed this wave, if you will, is because I thought, oh, that's going to be impossible. Nobody's going to buy advertising for this stuff, and people aren't going to look at the ads or whatever. Missed that one. That was just dead wrong. The advertising model made a lot more money than any licensing of any software for enterprises, whatever, did before. And the reason is because of what we're talking about. The targeting is that because they know who you are, they can give you an ad that is right up your alley at a level of detail, again, we'll talk about in a second. So the pioneers of advertising in this way had a slightly different model, and that was Google. Okay, we all know what Google was, certainly, as a search company. They essentially crawled the web, indexed the contents, and provided them as a service. So it was search as a service. The advertising was where the genius idea was. 2 things. One was, how did it actually rank the things that were getting returned to you in the list? Okay, anybody know how they do that? Well, yep, they don't use it. That's kind of the result of it. But it's they had a system called PageRank. That was the big development. And PageRank said, well, the way that we're going to figure out whose stuff pops to the top when somebody puts a query in is based upon how many other links are to that particular piece that you're getting returned. All right, so if I'm looking for Greek oregano and I want the best Greek oregano, I go to Google and it gives me a list of Greek oreganos. Well, the list is based upon how many cookbooks, for example, are pointing to that Greek oregano. So that was called PageRank, and it would rank the pages based upon what looks like really kind of a social network. It was based upon the other people who were making their vote to link to that essentially created the sequence. And you could also buy the word Greek oregano and pay for it in an auction that was essentially the core of what was called Google AdWords. And Google AdWords would essentially say you had what was called organic search and you had what was paid search. Organic search would give you kind of the top ones that came to based upon the page rank. Paid search was who paid the most to get that first placement in the paid list. If you look at Google now, it used to be like the first two results you got are like you'd get 2 paid ones and then the organics. Now it's like 12 paid ones and the organic. They don't make any money on the organic. They make it on the paid ads that put you up there. Brilliant story. All the other search companies back then, oh, our search is better because we look at the words more. No, it's all based upon what other people thought and then that ranking, and also having a tool that allowed the mere mortals of the world, the plumbers, the carpenters, to build their own ads and essentially target the ads themselves. Another brilliant idea. They pioneered it. The number 2 and number 3 guys on the list of billionaires are the 2 Google founders. Okay. So these things actually work. They're still going at it, but you can see how the paid money is coming in for advertising. Theirs is a pretty unique model compared to the other ones, but nonetheless is advertising supported, creating enormous amounts of wealth. You look at that revenue number, $800 million a day. 800 million a day. As a software guy, you look at how much they're processing. I mean, performance of a system is really critical. They're doing 158,000 searches a second. That's a lot of processing. That's a lot of good software to get that kind of speed. All over the world. Really tough stuff. They're not going anywhere. I mean, nobody's going to compete with that. Okay, they own that. They also are very good at the AI stuff, which we'll come back with. How about Meta? When it comes to software that I don't trust, here's the one on top, which is Facebook. Who looks at Facebook? It's okay. You can raise your hand. It's, okay. How about the Wayland Community Forum? Okay. Did any of you here because you saw the self-advertisement I put up for in the Wayland Community Forum, or my coyote picture I put up yesterday? So the Facebook model, again, is a pretty nice model that was developed by Mark Zuckerberg. And Mark decided that what he was going to provide was originally a way to look at girls at Harvard, and the whole idea of the swipe came from that system. But then he got the idea that maybe, well, he was assisted with it, long story, but the idea that I'll do friends and family, and they can use it as a communications vehicle, and I'll have this concept of friends, and friends will essentially group everybody in ways that seem to make sense. And that was the Facebook business for quite a while, and it worked out pretty good, but a lot of the people who were your friends really weren't your friends, and this caused all kinds of trouble for kids in particular, a lot of body shaming and all this sort of stuff that started occurring. And for the most part, they tried to react to it, and they didn't do a very good job, but they still tried. Now they don't try anymore. So on top of it, it's turned into a very different system. It's essentially some sort of discovery system that, because it knows everything about you, and I'll tell you how it knows that in a sec, because it knows everything about you, it knows exactly what kind of stuff you want to see. And then it'll sprinkle some other stuff that it's not quite sure that you want to see that. But based upon you react to that, it's going to update your profile and say he's not interested in that, but he's kind of interested in this because he moved his mouse when he saw that picture. That's the level of fine-grained detail that we're recording in these systems, okay? And the result of that is, with that, they have taken off like a rocket ship. I didn't know if that was going to work or not. If you try to, put up something for your family, it's buried under, for me, historic trains, which I like. But consider that this is kind of important. When I put a post up, example, if I put anything political up, which I don't now, I'll see that I've got 6, and I'm linking to like a Wall Street Journal article or something. I got 6 likes. Everybody knows what a like is, right? Okay, but if I put up that Ann and I celebrated our 48th wedding anniversary, and with a picture of the two of us, I'll get 160. And I'm going, did anybody see the one that I put up about the politics? And the answer is probably no, because Facebook decided, we're not going to show that to anybody. They're controlling what you see. Just because you put it up doesn't mean anybody's going to see it. So you really don't know. And, give me an example of a newspaper that controls at the individual level what news you're going to see. And of course, the news can be right wing, left wing, manipulated anytime you want. All right? Well, who's in charge of the algorithm to determine what I see? And what is it using as its basis for that information to do that distribution? Nobody knows. It's real guesswork. I've tried to crack it, but just with my own posts. You're putting up ridiculous posts just to see what would happen. So if you ever see a ridiculous post from me, I'm testing. Probably. But think of the power that these guys have. They're controlling. And how many, what did they say, 35% of the population wakes up to Facebook? They control what that 35% of the world's population is going to see. I've never seen anything that has that kind of power at all. Think about it. And Google technically does too, because is it really showing you the organic results? Or is it being manipulated to show you certain organic results before other organic results based upon politics, maybe? So why do I not trust my phone? You're starting to get the idea. Other people are in charge of what I see. It has been scientifically proven that if you want to, so this is what's called engagement. What these systems want, is their core goal is your engagement, your attention. It's called the attention economy now. They want your engagement. They want to get you there, and they want to keep you there. And I just told you it's 4.5 hours on average that people are on. They're not on looking at their stocks for 4.5 hours. Maybe they are now, but but bottom line is, this is how serious this is, that they've got all kinds of tricks to keep you on the system. Okay? You are being manipulated to stay on the system, to receive whatever message whoever it is, Mark, wants you to see. Okay? You might have noticed Mark has taken, I don't know, you know who I'm talking about, Zuckerberg, right? He's taken kind of a wild swing to the right as soon as he was on the dais with Trump at the White House at the inauguration. After he gave him $1 million. And he was, just months before that, Trump was banned from the system. Then all of a sudden he gives him $1 million. and gets rid of all the people that were essentially doing the checking for truth or porn or whatever on Facebook. He dumped them all because Trump didn't want that. So now you've got something that's getting a little scary. You've got what I'm now calling oligarchs, okay, that are Mark Zuckerberg working with the government, in this case Trump, just like they do in Russia. Okay, not a good luckily, Facebook, I'm sorry, the other piece is that if you want engagement, the way to get engagement is raging, okay? To just do something that, a person who reads it goes, I just can't live with this as it is, I've got to comment. And, I like what this guy's comment is, so I'll like that comment. And think every time you press that like button, your profile's changing. Okay, so they're getting a very good view of what you like and what you don't like. And just because you like something doesn't mean that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a lot of what you don't like, because that'll keep you engaged. If everybody is they all agree with you, I'll go to, I'll play golf or something. Oh no, this guy's just dead wrong. Well, how did you get that? Because they knew what you didn't like. Okay. Follow me? Mm-hmm. Yes? Yes, Lee? Okay. Just checking. You look just a little confused on that. So, Wayland Community Forum. The Wayland Community Forum, great spot. There was, at the time that we were having some issues about school and race and that stuff, all of a sudden, there were some posts in that thread that I don't think came from anybody here. And the reason is because those are people out there that just want to get people upset. Some of them can be for the reasons of keeping people engaged, i.e. they make more money the longer people are on the system because they'll see more ads. That's the real core of what this is about. But in some cases, it's just could be external people in a political sense, could be foreign governments. But how did they get into the Wayland Community Forum? Because doesn't any Wayland Community Forum people here that actually are administrators? No? Okay. In order to get into the Wayland Community Forum, it's what's now called the dark forest, meaning you're in the forest and it's got a fence around it. They can't really see who's. They'll come back to that in a sec. But the idea on Wayland Community Forum is that you have to prove you're from Wayland. Well, how do you prove you're from Wayland? Sorry?
You just say so.
You're on the voter roll. Okay. Now, okay, so you're on the voter roll. Good. Okay, but anybody could look at the voter. Anybody could take a wild shot in the dark and find a person who's probably not on Wayland Community Forum and say that they're that person, and now they're that person, because there's no checking. My recommendation to them, you've got to provide an electric bill or a gas bill, something that shows you actually have a house here, not that you just happen to guess the name correctly. I think that's what happened in Wayland Community Forum, but again, here we are. We really can't trust Wayland Community Forum. We really don't know, because the key thing in most of these systems is identity is hidden. Okay, and the worst of all, of course, is Twitter. Okay, which identity there is whatever you want it to be, although they've actually just recently come down on that a little harder. So you wind up, you've got Meta. What did I say? Google was making $800 million a day. Meta's making $550 million a day off of advertising. This is what I'm saying. Rage scales better than reflection. they want you to be enraged because you're going to stay on the system longer. Okay, and you're going to have other people that are going to comment on your comments, and that's all they want. As long as you're on the system, ads are going to start appearing, and they make money off of every ad that they show. But as I said here, compared to X, which is Twitter, this is child's play. But X is anybody on X? No, X is Twitter. When Elon took it over, it's just horrible how disgusting the dialogues are. But he doesn't make much money off it. But he loves stirring the pot. Who's the richest man in the world? How much money is he? What's his net worth? Anybody? Take a guess.
995 billion.
95?
995.
No, you're high. But not that high.
6 billion.
It's another guess.
640, 650.
Sorry?
640.
Good guess. That's about right. Although there's another one that shows him at 818. Yes.
I'm just curious about your initials in the previous slide. Could you tell us what those were?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Previous slide.
Yeah, well, WYSIWYG was when word processing came out, it was what you see is what you get.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Except now it's what you get is what you see. Because that's the only thing you get. So yeah, I just reversed it and thought it was clever. All right, let's just go through these guys quick. Amazon, we all know what Amazon is, but they have AWS, which is the cloud service, which they got out of having extra capacity at Christmas time on their servers. So some genius decided, hey, we could sell that extra capacity. That became the basis of AWS. AWS does $130 billion a year now. But they also have a $70 billion advertising business. That's within Amazon itself. So if you're selling on Amazon, you advertise your own product by buying ads on Amazon, along with all your competitors. And Amazon. So you're buying on Amazon to show that Amazon is going to show your product right under their product and says choice, whatever they use is, shopper's choice or whatever it is. So but what are you going to do? Okay, they sell $770 billion worth of stuff. 717 billion. So then there's TikTok. And I don't know if you remember the TikTok story, that TikTok is a Chinese company, that all of a sudden the politics, go that, oh my God, these guys they're stealing our children because TikTok has a lot of children and those people are from China, so they must be brainwashing them. No, it's actually not that. They just wanted to get that property, which has probably the best algorithms for content choice ever, and how their digital twin system works to profile you is the best ever. Why don't we just take the American part of that? Somebody in the government who will remain unnamed decided that would be a good idea, and then we'll give it to Oracle. Huh? Oracle's a database management company. What do they know about Twitter? Nothing. But Larry Ellison gave a lot of money to Republicans and therefore got the prize. So the Ellison family owns the majority stake in TikTok. 30 minutes remain. Is that life or my speech? Okay. Is that in total or is that with my 15 minutes out? In total. Yeah. Well, there you go. Okay. So bottom line is, though, TikTok is a phenomenal property. People absolutely love it. But now there's another oligarch that essentially owns TikTok.
And CBS.
I'm sorry?
And CBS.
Absolutely right. And soon to be CNN. Okay, this is one of the oligarch stories now, is that they're all getting their media assets. Bezos started it with the Washington Post. You got the guy he's technically not a tech media guy, he was a healthcare guy, that essentially bought the LA Times. So we'll come back to that in a sec. But bottom line is, and then you got Twitter. Only $2.3 billion of revenue, but enormous influence. Okay, people, in other words, it's really a small company, but because everybody's on it, they get a lot of influence. Run by Elon, who I think is absolutely out of his mind. I've never seen a company that sued its own customers for leaving them. Okay, their customers, Twitter, advertisers said, we can't take it anymore. We get bad reputation by advertising on Twitter, so we're pulling it. He's suing them for pulling their ads. I mean, okay. So bottom line is, I'll just skip that one. It's just about what the Center for Humane Software or Humane Technology actually said about. Well, I can go back. Actually, I don't know how to go back on this thing. I am. Center for Humane Technology, which is, you can look up on the web. They've got really good stuff on these types of issues. Links the race for attention, which is the bottom line story here, to harmful consequences for well-being, for democracy, for the ability to solve problems, and notes the algorithms promote misinformation, conspiracies, and fake news. And that's what I said. Stay for the hemlock after the talk. Apple, they're the good guys, right? I mean, who can argue with Apple compared to like Elon, right? No, they're not. They're an arms dealer. They built all the software to allow these other companies to do the stuff they're doing. Okay, all the notification stuff, all the privacy stuff, all that stuff was built as the foundation of the systems that the applications are using to do the stuff they're doing. So they're really an arms dealer. Okay, they're not doing much of it themselves. They are in the App Store, but they don't really have much of an advertising business. The only place they have that business is in the App Store. But bottom line is, they have put all the software in to let everybody else do the types of stuff I'm talking about. I'm going to skip that one too. So you got companies that have gigantic revenues, gigantic profits, and gigantic influence. They're not just big companies. They're giant systems of sales and profit and influence operating at a planetary scale. I mean, this is the thing that I like, shake people. This is planetary scale, people. This isn't happening like in Boston. Okay, these companies have planetary influence to the point that they're starting to think about their own government, what are called network states. And I got that in a sec here, but the bottom line is what they've capitalized on is addiction. And they've got everybody now at the point where they're hooked. Slot machine. You've heard of dopamine and the dopamine reaction. Everybody thinks it's a pleasure neurotransmitter. It is to an extent, but it's really more of a anticipatory neurotransmitter that it gets excited about the next thing. It's part of the whole learning process of the brain to actually show you something new, and if you like it, try to see if you can see it again. So in a slot machine, there is a process, of course, pulling the handle. You see the things, and there's noise, and there's bells, and everything, and now you won. Okay, bing, 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 and more noise. Your brain essentially releases the dopamine in this case because it was successful. But now you also get a dopamine hit when you are now going to pull it again. Okay, so it's an odd thing that this is what's called variable reward. And the variable reward on a slot machine is you're either going to win or you're going to lose, but I'm going to keep pulling it until I win. And you get into that chemical pattern that essentially tells you to pull it again. Okay, this is a dopamine hit, as it's called, and it is something that is the basis of gambling addictions. It's the basis of drug addictions. It's essentially the next time it'll be better. Okay, which is modeled completely on your phone in the same way. Short videos. Okay, one of the worst things that's ever happened to the brain is short videos. Short videos are TikTok, what are they, Reels on Facebook. And the reason is because they're short, okay? But the equivalent of the pull is the continuous scroll, okay? The continuous scroll, there's always like this manual thing that gets the brain into repeat these things. In this case, that short video of the train, I really like that. I'm going to watch that for 25 seconds. And then, well, if I go and scroll up again, maybe it's going to have another train. Or maybe it's going to have nothing I like, but then I'll do it again. This, goes back to Pavlov's dogs, et cetera, which is this idea of variable reward is built into the system. I'm excited because I might win on this next time, so I'm going to do it again. I'm going to take another shot of heroin because maybe I'll feel as good as I did when I did the first one. And then you get into this story that essentially the brain says, well, I'm not as excited as I used to be, so scroll faster. Okay, and you're hooked. So that addiction is what is at the core of these systems, and it wasn't by accident, it's by design to keep you engaged. The thing about short videos is that they train your mind to only be able to handle short content. And I have noticed, for me personally, that that's absolutely true. And the result of that is I don't watch a lot of short videos anymore because I would have a hard time putting this thing together. Okay. So variable rewards hijack the design. Then you've got social validation, which is how many likes. The likes are wonderful, right? You post something, you go back and say, oh, gee, I got 5 likes on that. It's social validation. You want social validation. So somebody invented the like button at Facebook just on a whim, and it became this unbelievable thing that I think there's 600 million likes a day. Okay? But likes are incredibly powerful to the engines that are in the back that are watching you because you've indicated that's what you like. So it looks at what you like, and now it starts building the profile around this. This gets to heavy-duty math, but we'll leave that alone for the time being. And the result of that is that is how they are drawing what you like and what you don't like out just by the fact. So my recommendation is, 1, don't like something, don't use a lot of likes, and every once in a while, like something that you don't like, and it confuses the algorithm.
Can you do that to your AI for the ChatGPT? Can you do it to the algorithm?
I'm sorry, what's the question again?
If you're working on, let's say, like a ChatGPT, and you're going along, can you know how it's always desperate for your attention?
Yes.
Can you do it back? Can you when it says, do you like this, was a good response?
I'm sorry, I don't use that a lot. I mean, on ChatGPT I don't. On Facebook I do.
Gemini, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Can you do it back?
Oh, sure. But more. The real thing on ChatGPT to keep you hooked is that every time you get an answer, it says, wouldn't you like this answer? I mean, wouldn't you like more? Click, yes. Okay.
But can I screw with the AI by randomly clicking on things?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but then you're going to wind up getting stuff you don't want. I mean, this is the problem. They got you coming and going here. It's really tough. So, and also this idea of infinite triggers. Just because you're not online anymore, you get a notification and now you're back online again. So all those things are built in, okay, for you to stay on that system. And if you happen to drift off we're going to get you back again. It is unbelievable. So, all right, like I'm running out of my time here, so I'll just show you this here. Oh, I'm not going to show you that. Why wouldn't they put on this software ever back? There it is. Okay. So consider this profile that I'm talking about, that you have a profile, and this profile is essentially your everything that you've liked, disliked, that's all been wedded into this blob of vector math, which I won't do. But it allows the system to find an ad that's perfect for you. And it used to be to choose an ad that's perfect for you. And then based upon your profile, it might be your demographics. I mean, this is old story marketing. But now these systems know everything about you. And sorry if I've gone over on some of these things, but when I talked about behaviors, part of the behavior is how fast you're scrolling. Okay? It's measuring how fast you're scrolling. If you're scrolling fast, you're probably not paying attention too much. If you go and you're scrolling fast and then you reverse, whatever it is that you're reversing, that means that you really like that thing, and that goes into your profile. Okay? What time did that reversal happen? Is it 7 o'clock at night? Is it 10 o'clock at night? Does he buy anything after 10 o'clock at night? Because if he buys something after 10 o'clock at night and he did this reversal, what a great time to bang him with an ad. Okay? And that ad will be chosen, customized at that time for that person. This is an example. They are doing a complete personality profile of you as well. There's a thing called Ocean, which is the standard personality kind of test to determine where you personality-wise. I'm sorry. What your personality is. And one of the things is extrovert. Okay, an introvert or an extrovert. Well, if the system's determined that you're an extrovert, and it thinks that you want to see a travel ad, it's predicting that you want to see, this is a prediction engine, that you want to see a travel ad based upon the profile and what time it is and how your scroll speed's working. You want to see a travel ad. What travel ad do you want to see if you're an extrovert is this one. If you're an introvert, you want to just have something mellow. So it shows you this one. So the ad is customized in real time to your personality, to the time of day it is, etc. And this is where they make all their money because it is so incredibly well targeted. And now Facebook has a system that essentially you don't have to do anything except tell it that this is the kind of ad, here's what I'm trying to sell. Will you figure out how to make the ads up in real time to hit your customers that match the profile that I'm looking for here? And essentially every ad gets every person at any time gets a different ad. Okay, that's how powerful these systems are. And this is all done using AI. Why are they building these huge data centers? It takes a lot of processing power to figure that level out at a global scale. But there's nothing like it. So one other thing, likes in your profile, it has been shown that if somebody gets 300 likes, examines it, and if I looked at Anne's like profile, meaning the things that she liked, I could have a better personality profile of her than I would have of her, just based on her likes. So there's so much information that is in those likes. All right. Why should this concern us? The profile is your secret stuff. Knows everything about you. Nobody really knows what's in it. You can't get it. The targeting goes beyond ads. It goes to politics. Anybody can buy this, okay, if they want to pay enough money. They can buy your profile. So the politicians did that. Remember Cambridge Analytica a while back? Anybody? Cambridge Analytica, right, was essentially the Trump campaign. Hired Cambridge Analytica to give them the profiles of 150 million Facebook users. so that they would target them with appropriate advertising going right after what that person thought about politics, custom. And the data, like it says here, it can be sold. So what gives them the right to do this? A long time ago when you signed up for Facebook, there was a contract that came up. You go, click. That's what gives them the right to do this. It's all legal. How well did they do with this? They did really great. They're the 6th richest men on earth now. And there they are. It's Elon, Larry Page, and Sergey Brin are Google founders. Zuckerberg, Bezos at Amazon, Larry Ellison now of TikTok fame, before of Oracle fame. It's an interesting question. I would ask the same thing. As I said, these were done by ChatGPT. For some reason, it thinks that Bezos deserves a halo. I don't ask me why. Huh? Pretty impressive graphics, though, don't you? So, bottom line is, you've got Elon here at $684 billion net worth. Okay, I wanted to tell you real quick about billions. All right. So, because billions are not, as this says, a billion is not a big million. A billion is a billion. And a billion is a lot. So if we took Elon's wealth today, it's 666 billion, which of course is the devil's sign. But and the question is, if you earned the average American family income, paid your taxes, and spent absolutely nothing, you didn't eat, you didn't heat the house, you didn't feed the kids, you lived in a raccoon, like a raccoon behind the library. In other words, you didn't spend a dime after you got your family's income, average. How many years would it take before you were richer than Elon Musk? Forever. No, not true. If he had interest, that's true. But anybody? Any guesses? Huh?
700,000 years.
It's a nice guess. Keep anybody else? It'll take 8,545,000 years. So you guys better get saving now, because if you that would take you back to the Stone Age, and even after you went back to the Stone Age, you'd still have 6 million years of saving left to do. That just puts in perspective how much 666 billion is. All right, how are we doing? Time? All right, I'm going to kind of jump a bit here. And so you've got an idea that this kind of a system made the richest people in the world rich. Okay, this was the core system. Okay, so the question is, okay, what do they do next? Well, they do AI. And the reason they can do AI is because they have to have a lot of money to do AI. AI requires you to have infrastructure to go and search all of the world's information. Now, ChatGPT has crawlers that, just like Google, goes and crawls all the systems in the world and brings it all back, digests it, and puts it into a database that has the capability of generating text and understanding text, and that's what ChatGPT is all about. So in order to crawl the world and store all the world's information and process it, you need enormous amounts of data and enormous amounts of compute. The companies that have that are these companies. Nobody else does at that level. Okay, it costs billions and billions of dollars to do this. So these same guys now are in a race, I would say a race to the bottom, of building the number one LLM, large language models, and AGI, the successor is general intelligence. And in order to do that, they have to spend enormous amounts of money on building out data centers to be the leaders in this field. And that's what they're doing. You can see the numbers are pretty large for a capital expenditure of a software company. The software companies don't buy capital expenditure, capital stuff. We don't buy machines. But now they do. So they've turned into kind of a weird software company that has a huge capital expenditure base and assets, depreciating assets that depreciate probably pretty fast now. So these are very different companies than they used to be, but they're all in somewhat of a male contest trying to top the other guy. And what we got is a real race going on. Zuckerberg's data center that he's proposing for building in Louisiana, they overlaid on a map of New York City. I don't know if you ever saw that. And it's taking up most of Manhattan. Okay. I mean, that's the size of the data center. Okay. The thing that's missing is energy. Nobody's really accounted for where are they going to get the electricity? It's 7 times more expensive to do a quote-unquote thing or search, if you will, on ChatGPT, electricity-wise, than it is for Google to just do a search. Okay, so 7 is a big number when you get this kind of scale. So there's not enough energy to run these systems, and that's why nukes are back again. Okay, the smaller nukes, but that's part of the story here. But the other problem is copper. There's not enough copper for all the wire. I'm not kidding. All the wiring that has to be done to build these data centers, they're not going to have enough. So this is like a fool's errand to me right now. I mean, that's my prediction. But it's very convenient if you want to screw with the tech oligarchs. As you can tell, I do. So what's going on here is that, picture my oregano thing, all right? So what happens if I go to Google and I want oregano? I get this list, okay? Part of it's paid, part of it's organic, as they call it. But it's up to me to go click these and look at them and see, how did they rank? Go to a ranking site for, food and wine or something. Oh, here's an article on that. I'm doing all that clicking and jiving, and all of it is supported by advertising revenues of food and wine and wherever else I'm going, a cookbook site or something, all in an effort to get my Greek oregano. All right? I have clicked myself to smithereens, and I have generated ads to be shown to me about Greek oregano, which supports the whole system that we just got through talking about. It's all advertising supported. But if I go to ChatGPT and say, give me the highest ranked Greek oregano, it goes out and does all that. Okay? It goes and does, these are called agents, or agentic AI, a new term that's going to be used an awful lot. The agents go out and do all the searches, look at the reviews, depending on how much I ask in the query. I might want one from only this region of Greece. It will go out and do all that. The agents don't do any ad buys. The agents don't look at ads. Okay? And if somebody built this really gorgeous website to sell herbs from Greece, the agent doesn't care. It doesn't look at the beautiful website. It just goes out to find the data. So what just happened to the whole economy of this that we just got through talking about goes to hell in a handbasket because of AI. Okay? So they're shooting themselves in the foot. Their whole business model essentially collapses here. Follow me? So this is on top of a lot of other things that are happening. When the AIs went out, the crawlers, like ChatGPT goes and crawls the internet, it goes to these cooking sites, and the cooking sites, have an influencer, and the influencer is, makes his money based upon recommending herbs. All right? but he gets ads. So he's got an advertising-supported business, okay, and he's pretty good at it. So he's got customers that are doing it, and he's making a living. And then the crawler comes from ChatGPT, goes to his site and sucks up all his data and calls it its own. So it sucks up all his reviews. It doesn't publish them again as his reviews. It homogenizes it into the homogenized reviews of everybody. And then that's what you go to ChatGPT. You didn't violate the guy's copyright, did you? Because you're not publishing the thing that he made. But the thing that he made is the basis of what this system is now reporting. It's the greatest heist in history of intellectual property, and they got not a dime for it. So these guys that are the source of information for the web, for AI, the result of that is that those guys are saying, nope, we're going to block you. Any crawler that comes from any of the major AIs, we're going to block. Because you're not paying us. All my intellectual property is being used and I don't make a dime and you do. So the result of that is that people are retreating to what are called dark forests. And dark forest means I'm putting a wall around my stuff and I'm not going to let the AIs get it. More and more. Combined with the fact that the AIs are generating, just like this presentation, a good part of it was generated by AI. If I put that on the web, let's pretend that it's not this presentation, it's some report and I decided to write and put on the web, but it was really generated by AI. Now the AIs come and go, oh, look what I found. Something that, this looks interesting, except it was written by it. Okay, this is what is called slop. AI slop is stuff that was written by AI or drawn or whatever, and then sucked back up by AI and rewritten by AI. This is the old, take a photocopy, put it on the photocopy machine. The first one looks good. Now you take that photocopy and put it on. You do that about 4 times and you don't have a really good photocopy anymore. That's exactly what's going on here. So the AI slop is being generated at a pace that is unbelievable, making the stuff you're getting back from the AI, it's not human content anymore because they put a wall about it. So over time, the only thing you got is regurgitated AI because all the good stuff, nobody's letting the AIs get. So the result of that is QA time. But you follow where I'm going with this. So now all that investment that's going into these AI companies, all these data centers, I think is going to be pissed away. Because people aren't going to go to the AIs because there's no human content. And if the AIs they can make up content. I mean, they're quite good at it. But who wants made-up content when you're looking for stuff that is really information as opposed to generation? So that's the story. And so I would tell you that, oh my God, here's the 10 things that you can do to make sure that your profile isn't, manipulated. And I can. I've actually got a slide on, with kill notifications, etc. It's going to happen all by itself. It's just going to happen by itself when these systems essentially screw up the very thing that they made all their money on by the same companies. It's amazing to me. I hope that's clear. I'm done. Now, yes, sir.
So how would you feel about a personal agent that you train, each individual, that buffers you from everything you just showed us,
Yeah.
so that you only see what you want when you want it?
Well, you can. I mean, you can. You can do that today. Those are called agents. And
No one's marketing that specific use case just yet.
I'm gonna.
One of your angel companies.
There's, I mean, where agents go is going to be really interesting because this is what, if you look at the stock prices of software companies have tanked. They're down 40%. Not these companies, not the big companies. Big companies, Adobe, for example, because you saw I mean, look at these graphics. Those are pretty good. Okay, there's no graphic designer that I needed to do that. I did it by telling him to give me the 6 pictures of these guys, and put it in. So I got it in a slide with a table. I mean, 14. So don't need Adobe. So the whole software industry is getting turned on its head. Anthropic came out with Monday, one of Adam's competitors, at least at one time. Monday.com used Monday.com as an example. This is a company that's a public software company. Anthropic, which is one of the LLMs and one of the good guys, in my opinion. LLMs, a large language model, ChatGPT is an LLM. What happens is they came out with, they decided that they would feed the LLM the documentation and screenshots and reports out of Monday.com, out of the software that is a commercially available public company offering. And it reproduced it in 30 minutes. So Monday.com, I mean, I feel sorry that they picked Monday.com. It just is unfortunate. But they're being used as an example of how to get killed by AI. It's not really good when you have your stockholders meeting to be used as a bad example.
Yeah, but spreadsheets kill what lots of accountants used to spend.
True, but nothing like this. Nothing like this.
Next generation
I don't
kills
know.
off the stuff before it.
As I said, I've been doing this for 55 years. I said, this one's different. This one's different. Okay, yes, sir. Bam, I can't say. I'm sorry, you guys are hand in front of your face.
I wonder if I'm the only person in the room who wonders why waging war is not mentioned as a part of this insane phenomenon.
Oh, it is.
I mean, really, it isn't just making those people rich. It's making all of the bastards rich. And it's killing all of the real people in the world.
I'm sympathetic to your way of thinking. The interesting thing is, and just a vignette just happened, I talked about Anthropic having some of the best of the AI software. That's all they do, is that they don't have another source of income in that. They're going to probably go public, but the leader of that company at least seems to have some morality. Anthropic is used all over the government right now until a few weeks ago when Trump killed it. And he killed it because Anthropic would not agree to their requirement meaning Anthropic's requirement, that if you're going to use our software, there's 2 things that we're not going to allow you to do. One is to use it to kill Americans, and the other is, I just had it. Sorry?
Autonomous weapons and massive.
Yeah, fully autonomous weapons, meaning that the kill decision is made by the AI. They said, you're not going to do that at least without talking to us. And Trump didn't like that. So they decided they'd go with OpenAI, ChatGPT. And what's his name? Sam Altman, just another spineless creature, decides, oh, no, we'll do it. We'll do it. Sure, killing Americans is okay by us. That's what you got going. Sam Altman is right out of the same league of the PayPal mafia guys, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk. I mean, read up about these guys because I don't know. It's I think there's stuff going on that is, and this is all part of it. Yes, Richard. Great to see you.
Can you talk a little bit about how software development itself is changing? Have you coded in Claude? And can you talk about what it was like when you were coding back?
What did you say? Yeah, I mean, these systems are what are called large language models. They understand language really, really well, and they do things like translation. They can understand French, written or spoken, and then turn it into English, okay, because they're really good at languages. Okay, that's what their specialty is. That's why they're called a large language model. The more structured the particular language is, the better they do. Okay, so there's certain languages that have high structures, and there's certain languages that don't. So depending, they'll do better with the ones that are highly structured. What are the most high structured languages in the world? Are programming languages. So programming languages, this is the language, and that's all it does. You know, so they're incredibly good at being able to read and write programs, and they have now. It's hard. I mean, this has gone so quickly, but it is incredible that they're now. I talked about Monday. That's a whole application. I mean, we're not talking about a program. They gave it the information and it just spit it out. Which language would you like? Python, or you want Rust, or you want JavaScript? Okay. Actually, take that Rust program and make it JavaScript. You could never do that. Richard and I worked at Lotus together. We would import programmers from Lithuania or something en masse when we had a problem like that. That ain't happening. In seconds, these things will translate that. And the stuff works. They will write their own test data. They will do their own testing. They're integrated into the interactive development environments. This has caused another huge issue, which is junior programmers aren't being hired. The guys that are graduated with comp sci degrees, which when they went in 3 years ago saying, oh, I'm going to kick ass, I'm a computer science major, aren't getting hired. Okay? They don't need them because the LLMs are doing the work. So agents are really going to make this even worse because they're going to be able to talk to other systems that could do coding tasks. And you wind up that you have a team of agents that are your programming staff. And you don't have to know the code anymore. You can test it. It's got its dangers to doing that, but the progress that has been made here is incredible. So Claude Code, Anthropic product, is right now the kick-ass leader. Yep.
Last question.
Do you have the last question?
No.
Oh, all right. Oh, come on. We're just starting.
I'll let someone else have it.
Oh, go ahead.
The threat of AI for junior levels in many professions, not just programming, attorneys,
Sure.
Business rights.
Customer
It's sort of
service.
the same story right now, or at least that's a story we hear a lot about. One downstream problem of that seems to be that it's not clear you can replace all your technical people, but if you don't train junior people, you run out.
True.
of
Yeah. Eventually, that's true. Unless the AIs come up with some sort of perpetual life. Are you a lawyer?
No, I'm a
Because the lawyers are got that problem in spades right now. Yeah, it changes the whole educational system. I mean, essentially, what you're pointing to is you got a gap. Okay, if that gap moves, what happens? These guys move on. There's nobody to pull up except the code. And what's happening, I think, is that code is getting so much better over time, that indeed it's moving, if you will, with them. If you, I don't,
Maybe.
my whole life is maybe.
But it seems that there are some things that have the same structural problem. I like to take the law. Right? The law is more complicated than the code is. In the sense that it has layers of interpretation
Sure.
that are not agreed upon. We mostly agree on the interpretation of code. And so, how do you generate the experienced people who can be judges for it if you never have the
So
that's
it's a known problem. I mean, it's true. It's a problem. I mean, we don't. You know, as I said in the beginning, that's the excitement about being in this business, is you don't know. Okay, so you make a guess, you take a position, you hear somebody else and say, well, maybe my position needs to be modified. But I mean, that's the fun of it to me, is we don't know. But boy, is it, Anne's clapping, so I think it's time to go. Okay, all right. Well, thank you. Thank you. I've only got 20 more slides.